Hey guys, Phil Endris here with John Carroll. We're back at you with another episode of Forward Talk. We're so glad that you tuned in. I just got off a plane in Pittsburgh.
Just got out of the woods.
He just got out of the woods looking like Elmer Fudd. And he just got me at Pittsburgh Airport. It's late here. It's like, 12:35,
It is. Oh, dude, that was almost prophetic. It was 12:33.
12:33. So it's late, but we had a few things on our mind and we want to share it with you. First thing we want to talk about, and the subject of this particular show, is the importance of being on the record or going on the record. And so this is both very near and dear to our hearts. We're going to, in this episode, talk about why we're doing what we're doing and why we feel it's important, and several other topics as well, or points in there as well.
Yes. And so I think one of the reasons why it's so important to go on the record is that when you go on the record, it puts what you think, what you believe into the arena of ideas. Mm-hmm. And it gives other thinkers in whatever realm that you are operating in the ability to give feedback, to critique what it is that you are thinking. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that feedback, even if the motivation of the person might not be the best, you can learn where the weaknesses of your position is by that feedback whenever you go on the record.
Yeah.
Too often what we do is we talk about issues in secret settings and places where people agree with us already, and so there's little pushback, and sometimes we tend to live in these ideological bubbles where our ideas aren't tested. And so when you go on the record, it puts it out there for everybody to see, to hear, and to respond to it.
I think transparency is a key.
Yeah.
Being transparent, which we've talked about.
Yes.
In
and it'll be
episodes.
a reoccurring theme.
It'll be reoccurring because it's very important in the day that we live in.
Yeah.
Pastors are certainly, their lives, their actions, their theology, their teaching, their preaching is magnified.
Yeah.
In this day and age, whereas even while they're preaching, we've talked about this before, they're being fact-checked immediately. And so the importance of being honest, intellectual honesty, the importance of being transparent, the importance of just being real is so important today. And that moves into the area of going on the record. That's part of being transparent. That's part of being real, is going on the record and stating, this is what I believe.
This is why I believe it. Mm-hmm. And having a defensible position that you're forced in a position to where you have to defend it, or either shift
Correct.
it or abandon it.
Correct. And if you did a study into the early apostolic church after the day of Pentecost, you would see, the great theologian, in my opinion, the greatest theologian in the New Testament aside from Jesus Christ,
Paul,
the Apostle Paul. He goes on the record.
Absolutely.
He states many things that set the foundational structure of the apostolic church as a whole. And it's not just all complete, or shall I say it this way, it's not absolute doctrines in there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things like, you shouldn't do this for now, and you shouldn't, this is what we need to watch, and this is what we need to steer clear of.
Yeah.
And these are the issues that we're dealing with. He's not even covering up the issues of the early apostolic church in Corinth. He's saying, look, you guys are doing this, you're doing that. He's being very forthright and honest and public about them.
Yeah.
And we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned this on the record, but, and I don't know how this happened by chance, but I think it did. Our first real episode number 2, I believe it was Are You a Racist?
Yeah, exactly.
And after that point, I mean, man, a lot of things happened in the church setting, in the apostolic movement setting, and we're not saying that we were the contributors to that. I don't believe that.
No.
But I think it just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have happened if we hadn't have did our episode.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, but the point that I want to make is the importance of Brother Bernard responding.
Yeah.
To,
on the record.
On the record.
Yes.
I mean, it was a must, and
Yeah.
he did not say that we've got everything right and everything's good, and we're going to.
He absolutely nailed that interview with Rico Smith.
Fantastic.
He absolutely.
And there'll be a link to it in the
show notes here, in case you haven't seen it.
It was fantastic. I thought his response was wonderful. But the point is, he didn't cover anything up. He was transparent. I believe he was honest.
Yes, he was.
And he went on the record.
Yes, sir.
And that's important
to do. Incredibly powerful.
Yes.
You know, and going back to Paul, another way in which Paul went on the record, the Bible says he would enter into the temple, into the synagogues. He would dispute with the leaders of the synagogue. And the Bible uses this phrase about Paul doing that, as his manner was. Mm-hmm. And so Paul had a M.O. of going on the record with his ideas. He had an M.O. of putting his ideas out on the line to be tested. And so that's just what we are doing. That's part of a major part of what Forward Talk is all about, is putting ideas on the record so they can be tested.
Right. The importance of going on the record for me as well is that we have such outlets to do so.
Yes.
And people are taking advantage of those outlets. So let's look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all of the other social media accounts. Those accounts, or those avenues of social media are really ways in which people go on the record.
Yeah.
They go on the record by saying, this is where I'm at. Check in right now. You're on the record. Yeah. You go on record when you, matter of fact, job. If you're interviewing for a job, many times they look at your Facebook account
and
see what you went on the record about.
Exactly.
And if it's things that are petty, things that are immature, things that are
not in line with their corporate vision,
right? They're not interested. They've already interviewed you. Your pictures are going on the record. I think it's important for everyone to realize, especially in this day and age, that everything that you are doing, and this is the scary part, is being recorded, and at a very early age.
Yeah.
And so you are building a footprint. You are building a resume from the moment you begin social media.
Yes.
So if you make news when you're young,
yeah.
Say you spray painted a barn or something, spray painted a deal and got caught.
Yeah.
It will be archived in the internet forever. Yeah. It's there. Somebody will find out about it.
Yeah.
There's no cleansing that. There's no getting rid of that. It will stay with you forever. And so I just want to take a moment and tell our young people to make sure that you're very careful about what you post, what you put online, and what you do, because you are building a record right now that will stay with you forever.
So going on the record can
especially if you have a unique name. Now, if you have a name like
Calvinism My Way,
Bob Smith, a lot of Bob Smiths can get away with stuff.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
But Philip Endris can't get away with a lot of stuff.
No.
So we all need to change our name.
That's right. So going on the record can be...
We just need to change our name to Nathaniel Urshan.
That's exactly right. Every screen name I do for the rest of my life is going to be Nathaniel Urshan.
Nathaniel Urshan.
2. But going on the record can either be a positive or a negative.
Yes.
And so what we are emphasizing here is that we talk about things in a positive way. Go on the record in a way that leaves a positive mark. And if there happens to be something, how are you liking that new POM mug?
It's a really nice mug. But
it was actually made at a local pottery here in the town that I pastor.
It's the one that makes the Starbucks.
Makes the Starbucks mugs, exactly.
I'm drinking hot chocolate.
I'm drinking coffee.
Yeah, I'm not a big coffee fan. Go ahead. Since we went on the record about that.
I don't even know what I was going on the record about at this point. But the thing is that when we go on the record about an issue and we happen to get thoughtful responses that demonstrates a weakness of a position, I know for me, I'm totally not beyond saying, okay, I need to correct this. I need to fix this. I need to hear the wisdom that's coming from this feedback.
Correct.
And so there is a humility on our part as well. So
Sure.
going on the record for us isn't just an arrogance saying, okay, we want the rest of the world to hear us. We're right, and we want everybody else to sit down and take note of what we're saying. There's also a humility behind this that if it can be demonstrated that we're missing something or not seeing something accurately, then I think both of us are humble enough to hear that and to take that.
Yeah, I think I think you're right in that. I think that you're correct. But I just feel an empowerment to go on the record.
Yeah.
I feel good going on the record.
It does feel good. It does feel good.
It feels good. And I think the ministry has been pressured.
Yeah, me and you both have too many conversations with pastors that say, okay, I think this, but, please don't tell anybody that this is what I think about this, or like it happens behind closed doors, and they never want certain things that they truly believe. They don't want it known that they think in that particular way. And for me, it's just, I have a hard time living like that. Whenever I talk about an issue, I want to be as open and honest and as public with that as I can possibly be to maintain my integrity within what I believe.
Correct. And so if you go on the record, you also will not fall victim to the labels that people will give you, because you are controlling your own narrative.
Check out our last episode on the lunacy of labels.
Yes, there will be a link below.
Yes.
But really, I think it's important that we do control our own narrative. Now, that's
exactly
not
right.
That's not to say that we're just this maverick individual.
No.
With no input from the outside. But I think you use your elders, you use wisdom from the outside, people that love you, and control your own narrative with the help and the influence of those people that love you and are honest.
Yes.
And will give you good advice, good godly advice.
Yeah.
I want to control my own narrative.
Yeah.
That's one thing I completely want to do, and I make no apologies for it.
Yeah.
If someone's going to make a statement about me, I want to be able to control that statement. I want to be able to say, okay, I heard you say this, but I want to deal with it this way.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in fights with people.
No.
I don't want to get into individual disagreement. I don't mind disagreeing, but I don't want to get into individual wars with people over what I believe. This is what I believe. It's on the record.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to talk about it, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But this is it.
And, being a person that has been frequently misrepresented, the power of going on the record is when that happens, all we have to do is point to, I've blogged pretty extensively, so all I have to do is say, no, here's the blog link where I said what I believe on this issue. Or now in this case, here's the Forward Talk episode where we discussed it in our words. So you can go compare what is being said with what was actually said. And so that's a powerful component of you saying controlling our own narrative. It's having enough information out there of what you've actually said that it makes it easy for misrepresentation to be dismissed.
That's right. That's a good point. And we may do a show on this some other time. But I think one thing that goes together with this particular episode is the power of asking questions.
Yes.
The power of asking questions is something I feel like this generation is very much in love with.
Yeah.
So instead of making statements or going on the record, we simply ask questions, and those questions really are our statements in many forms and facets, especially when it has to do with theology or something that is somewhat taboo in the church. So, for instance, they've already made up, an individual has already made up their mind what they believe on a specific issue in the local church.
Yeah.
But then they ask a question. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
Because they want other people to state their opinion without them going on the record.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not a good place to ask questions. I don't think we ask questions from a place that is disingenuous.
No, sir.
We ask questions from a place that is true, that is honest, that is curiously seeking
Yes.
an answer.
Yeah.
You don't ask questions to garner support or to cause a revolution.
Yeah.
In some sense. So again, it's important to go on the record, and asking questions is not going on the record.
No.
So going on the record would be gaining material, doing the studying, doing the research, doing all of that, then going on the. So how do we go on the record? Well, I really think we need more apostolic writers today.
Yeah.
We need good theological books,
Vlogs, blogs, books,
videos like we're doing here.
Exactly. There's all kinds of ways.
Podcasts.
Exactly.
How can you do in your local church? The old-fashioned way was on the back page of the bulletin.
Yes, sir.
It'd be a note from the pastor on the back.
Yes, sir.
That's tremendous.
Yes, sir.
Diaries. You can keep a diary and turn that diary into a book.
Yes.
What's some other old-fashioned ways?
Outside of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside of that, that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. So there's plenty of ways to go on the record, and we really need to do that.
Yes, we do.
It keeps us honest, it keeps us sincere.
Keeps us accountable.
Accountable.
Which is, I think, a very key component to operating in the arena of ideas.
Okay.
Is accountability.
So let's talk about it from a local perspective, local church perspective. We're going to have to deal with this sometime or another. You're the pastor here, and we're at your church right now, Point of Mercy. And you guys do a video blog, right, of all of your services?
Yeah, we live stream on Facebook.
You live stream on Facebook.
Yes.
So there's an archive of all of your services.
Yes.
There'll be a link to that.
We also have our church's YouTube channel where all of a lot of our series, we'll get it up to date, but the series that I teach at our church, sermons that I preach at our church.
That is an outreach ministry of your local church.
Yes, sir.
So it's I think number one priority is to minister to the people that are in the church where they can go back, hear your messages, and if they were not able to attend, or if they just want to hear it again.
Yes,
and
sir.
you don't charge your church for this.
No,
so that's
not at
great.
all.
You don't even sell those types of things.
Well, no, we don't even say that there's CDs available.
Right.
For us, we have podcasts, we have YouTube, and it's live streamed on Facebook, and all of those are
they're all free.
Free outlets.
So then, secondly, it's for the community outreach to your church, or from your church to your community.
Yes.
So you're reaching out to your community with an online presence. So if someone in Lisbon, Ohio is looking for a church and they come across your website, they can meet the pastor, they can hear the word of the Lord right there from him without ever having attended one service.
That's right.
And then thirdly, you have an online live audience that is watching your services.
Yes, which is powerful because there's no going back when you're live streaming like that. There's no going back, undoing, taking out something that was said. And I know one thing that has done for me in my preaching is it's made me very conscious of the fact that there's a public community here that's watching me unedited in a live format.
Yes.
And so it makes me accountable to how I preach the gospel to our local community. Right. And there are many people in this community that have not yet been to our church that watch our Facebook live stream. And so we're going on the record with the community in a very unedited, public way.
And so the benefit there, as you stated, is that it's causing you to pick your words carefully.
Yes, sir.
To pray about what you speak, to make sure that you don't just get up and rant.
Yes.
To have something put together.
Of course, you know my style of sermon notes.
Correct.
Is that my sermons are
about every word's written
every
out.
Word. Somebody could read my notes word for word, and it would be a full, coherent sermon. Most of my sermons are going to be about probably 40 pages of notes.
Wow.
So I do an extensive amount of writing every week. But what that does, though, is I stay connected to that framework in preaching that prevents me from going off the rails in that communication of the gospel to our community via live streams.
And before we go off the rails here, I want to reel in that point about the power of going on the record. So now with churches doing that, my church is going to invest in that largely. When we did it on a consistent basis, we just remodeled our building, and that's the reason why we had to take a moment off. We were switching churches, etc. We actually had an online church.
Yeah.
People that would tune in. I don't know the numbers, but I know it wasn't just in the United States. It was internationally. People would tune in every Sunday when we began service. So with all of these archives and with all of these podcasts and with all of these things connected to our local churches,
yes,
and also with the understanding that our local churches are different in the way we handle certain things.
Yes.
This is very important that when an individual or individuals go on the record in their local church setting, that we not crucify them.
That's exactly right.
Because of what they're doing. Well, why did they post that online? Because they're trying to reach their city.
Exactly.
Because they're trying to reach their community. Because they're going on the record. Well, they shouldn't have done that because we don't believe that in our church.
Yeah.
Well, that's just, I mean, that's silly to think that every church, that the people in your church think that everyone has to think the same way.
That's exactly right.
That's just totally a silly thing to think about.
Yeah,
pesky wabbit.
I have repeatedly stated, and taught and put it in the conscience of our church that not everybody draws the same lines at the same places that we do. That what we are doing here is what I feel like as the pastor is the best spiritual and scriptural way to do things in our church context. But that doesn't mean that's going to be the line that a pastor 20 miles, 30 miles, 50, 100, 1,000 miles from us, he has a completely different church history. He has a completely different regional demographic that's going to allow him the flexibility to have some things different in his local congregation. And we're not going to judge them because they have a different local church culture than what we do. And
I don't think it would surprise any person if someone is 60 years old right now, I don't think it would surprise that 60-year-old if they went back and looked at 30-year-old self.
Yeah.
And say, I don't agree with this.
Exactly.
I don't agree what you talked about.
Exactly.
I don't agree what you said here. And so 60-year-old self is looking at 30-year-old self that went on the record and disagreeing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you kill them. You got to understand that some things are a process.
Yes, sir.
It's a process. But again, going on the record is important.
Yes, sir.
It's very important because it starts a conversation.
Yes, sir.
It starts a conversation, and as long as the questions, as long as the content is rooted with humility,
yes, sir,
I believe that there is forward progress.
Yes.
That would come from forward talk.
Yes, sir. And this is what we are doing with Forward Talk.
Yes.
Is going on the record, putting ourselves out there with transparency and with honesty about a lot of different issues.
Yeah. So don't kill us. We love you. Yeah. So that's about it we got for this time. And we've said this a couple of times, but I want to say it again. We both said, hey, I want to do something on the topic of going on the record.
Yeah.
We think it's important.
Yes, sir.
But we don't talk about it. We turned on the camera and just talked about our heart.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we really want to keep that as raw as possible.
Yes, sir.
And not as scripted. We don't want this to be a scripted deal.
No.
This is just real and genuine. So we love you.
Subscribe, hit the notification bell wherever those are, and share this stuff with your friends. Thank you.
See you next time.